without further ado, let's get into the good stuff here. I want to take you back to Wednesday, Rory McIlroy's press conference. Here is what Rory McIlroy had to say about everyone putting aside their hard feelings and reuniting the game for the good of the sport.
We've all done better from all of this. Whether you stayed on the PGA Tour or you left, we have all benefited from this. And I've been on the record saying this a lot. Like, we're playing for $20 million prize fund this week. Like, that would have never happened if Liv hadn't come around. So I think everyone's just got to get over it. And we all have to say, okay, this is the starting point, and we move forward. We don't look behind us. We don't look to the past. We just, whatever's happened has happened, and it's been unfortunate. But reunification, how we all come back together and move forward, that's the best thing for everyone. So, like, if people are butthurt or have their feelings hurt because guys went and whatever, like, who cares? Like, let's move forward together, and let's just try to get this thing going again and do what's best for the game.
Butthurt is certainly a underused phrase, certainly on this podcast, but I'm glad that we can then bring it into the fray. Johnson, you said on Golf Central that Rory had a, quote, finite perspective. Elaborate, please.
He's seen this from a best player in the game view, and that's his opinion, and that's fine. But this is so much bigger than that. And I made the point that sponsors are getting really hurt. The fact that he's saying we've all benefited from this, I'm making more money than I did in 19. I'm making so much money. Look at me. Nobody who's a fan of an athlete loves hearing about how much they make, right? Like, if you hear my favorite quarterback, Bryce Young. He's not really my favorite quarterback, but he's my hometown quarterback.
My God.
If Bryce Young comes out and he's like, I'm making more money this year, I just signed a new deal. Like, nobody wants to hear that. It's a turnoff. And so the sponsors, and I've been getting kind of roasted for this on social media, but the sponsors are getting. Look, the way the trajectory of the tour was going before Liv, purses were going to be up there. It was going to be great. New TV deal. Everything was trending in the right direction. And what happened was it got accelerated to a point of no return, to the point where the PGA Tour had to get outside money to start sourcing other things because they were depleting their reserves, making these $20 million purses that they couldn't have. A lot of sponsors in the beginning couldn't fork it over. And now they're starting to. So I just wish he would look at it from a perspective. I just wish he would look at it from someone's perspective other than himself.
So Johnson and Rex, you were in the room, and I want to get your thoughts on this. But to me, Johnson, Rory was talking about this from a financial perspective of no one has been impoverished by golf civil war. PGA Tour players, whether you're number 1 on the money list or number 125 on the money list, you have all made more money. And so to me, listening to Rory's sound there, he's saying we need to get over it because we've all done better. We have benefited financially from this. No one can have any grievances about how this has played out. Sure, those guys may have gotten more guaranteed money. Sure, they may have be now playing less golf. But like the jealousy, the bitterness, the resentment, put that aside for what could ultimately strengthen the PGA Tour. Rex, did you get that same impression from what Rory was saying when you were inside the room?
First and foremost, I am here to hear Johnson Wagner do every bit of analysis and whatever that voice is that he just did, the sing-song voice that he was mimicking. I can only assume it was Roy, but yes, that like I am here for that all day long. Yes, I think that's what he was getting at. And I understand, Johnson, like when I heard your take on Central, I 100% understood where you're coming from because I spend a lot of time talking with players who aren't Rory McIlroy, who aren't at the top of the food chain, who are quote unquote butthurt. And I totally understand that when it comes to once we're beyond whatever the financial terms of this potential deal is going to look like between the PGA Tour and the Public Investment Fund, then we need to get into the weeds. And getting into the weeds is unifying the game, which that means essentially bringing those players who went to live golf back to the PGA Tour. And I get it from players' perspective. It's going to be hard to wrap your mind around it. However, I wrote just this week that to get that done, and I think all three of us in this room can agree right now, that's probably best for the game to get that done. The only way to get that done is if Jay Monahan or whoever takes his place as CEO is a benevolent dictator because of what you just voiced. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, and I know the perspective Rory's. I mean, not. I don't mean to say perspective again. I know what Rory's saying, and I agree that it would be good for the game, but it's not that simple. And to use the words "get over it" or "butthurt" by the whole situation, I think is a little bit insensitive to what's going on. I mean, 2 years ago, all these guys were banned for life from the PGA Tour, and now we're just supposed to welcome them back, open arms, hat in hand, like, "Hey, buddy, it's good to see you." It's just, it's not that easy.